we've decided that a full float water bed mattress was not the best for our backs anymore. So we bought a new mattress that's sort of like a waveless with a bit more support. It means I've got to drain the old one, swap them out and refill the new one. So partway through filling up the bed, got a call from Penrith Brakes. The pump has been installed, the car was ready, so I shot down to pick it up, got it, and I've just rung my garage because it's 4:40 on a Friday arvo, and I just wanted to know if there'd be a chance of me running past there and just getting them to do that re-inspection so that I can go back to work knowing that the car's ready and registered and not having to worry about trying to get in there before or after work. He said because it's just a re-inspection, because it failed the first time, yes, I can just sort of jump in and they'll do it. Heading up there, making sure I get there before 5 because they normally take off between 4:30, 4:45 on a Friday. They are really nice blokes at this garage. Starting to find some good value people that'll look after you with your cars. Now I just got to hope that the traffic's good going up the mountain. I have such a sense of relief. I got there 5 to 5, ran in there with the paperwork and the keys.
I said, oh, so we just got to check this. I did that, then ran the brake diagnostic test.
Came up all good. Car has now passed the rego. That was the freakiest part because in the past it's been like we've either had the van or the Suzuki. So when the Suzuki was having work done on it, I could still get around in the van. When the van was having work done on it, we had the Suzuki. And with the van not running, the fear of this not having passed rego, a little bit of a hard stopper for a while. Got the re-inspection done within the 14 days and the rego is due in 10 days. So I'll let that e-inspection report make it through the system, pay the insurance, pay the rego. Suzuki's registered for another year. Figure out what to do about the van. Such a relief. Yeah, we go back to work tomorrow. So I started trying to mulch this tree down. I got about halfway through it. There's my little pile of mulch. There's the big branches that wouldn't go through the mulcher. But I've still got all this to go. I wanted to get into it before it dried out too much, but it seems to be all right and still mulching through okay, breaking up all right. Next weekend I'll try and finish that. First day back at school and checking on the veggie patch of the kids. We've got some leafy greens, I think that's beets, and apparently that's carrots over in there. And I've been told and shown yesterday that there's some potatoes planted on the other side of the construction site in amongst the mulch. Being the first week back, Year 12 do their exams the first 2 weeks of the term. So no Year 12 project work really going on, but I did tell the class, if you don't have an exam and I'm available, like come and see if I'm available, we'll jump in the workshop. One of the kids did today, and he's kind of in a panic because he's actually going overseas for family things, so he's trying to get his stuff done while he doesn't have exams on, and he's pretty committed. That's the one doing the island table. He got his 2 side frames for the base glued up. Did a lot of sanding and glued those up today. Gonna come in tomorrow and he'll glue up the short rails to make the full frame. He basically took all of the melamine that we had around here when we were going to use the epoxy, so he got rid of all of that, and that's in preparation for skimming off with a router sled. Because he's actually leaving this Friday, that put me into a panic that I've got to get a router sled bed, but a router sled built because I don't have one. So while he was doing his stuff, I was making this. This is some aluminium extrusion that used to be the runners for the cabinets in next door room. So it had some of that sort of stuff left over. I cut two that are 1200 long, 4 feet. And then a couple of little bits here. They're basically just pot riveted in. So they kept it apart. I cut these pieces so they were just 5mm wider than the base of the router. And I've run some Canuba wax in here. And not bad. I actually made it to suit this router because this router has a round base. So it's not going to be stuck in there by having those little pieces of like the odd shaped bases. But all we need to do then is basically set some long pieces either end that are a bit taller than his island, and I've worked out that some 90mm timber, 2x4, some 90mm timber either side, and this sitting on top should be able to get all of those pieces skimmed down. Only trouble is the largest cutter I've got is a 3/4 inch or a 19mm, so I'm going to have to run by Bunnings and see if they've got a larger cutter that I can get for that, so that we can hopefully do that tomorrow or Thursday, because today's Tuesday. I was hoping some of the other kids might come up today because the projects are all basically sitting around. I went around and just removed clamps because they all still had the clamps on it from the holiday break. And so when they come in, they'll be ready to just jump in on their projects and keep going. A little bit less than 4 weeks till they're due. We'll get there. Well, that was a bust. Wanted to try and get a 1-inch router bit for the router for my year 12. And they only had one with a 1/4 inch shank, and I need a 1/2 inch shank. So I might Google the other stores and have a look. Got it. 1-inch cutter, 1/2 inch shank. Should be perfect for the router sled I made. Well, I would call the sled a success. Basically clamp these rails to the table, sit the job underneath. I've got this one clamped because it's just a test piece, but that's worked pretty well at getting this all level. So that means my student will be able to come in and try this out. Having the plunge router is good because I've got it set so that bringing it right up to the top will allow me to get the router out without affecting the blade. And then we can put it in and plunge down. Success on that. And while we're in here, I had a couple of students come in today after they'd finished their exam. So the one who's doing the really big desk, she got this other panel in, so that's starting to take shape. She started taking measurements for the drawer fronts. The girl doing the clothing rack came in and she ended up getting her racks kind of assembled. These rails for the inner side had to be cut a little bit shorter. Slight extra measurement needed because I think it needs to go a little bit closer. That's a minor tweak that she'll have to do. The student who's doing the pond table, there's his main leg frames glued together, just hidden in the back. So he took those out of the clamps and he's ready to get the second lot of those in, which I think he's going to come in tomorrow to do. Friday Arvo, end of the first week back at school. Nothing much has happened with Year 12. They're all focused on their exams right now. Year 11 construction are currently doing, their unit is on planning and communication, so there's not a lot of prac involved. They have to do a couple of small role plays, and as a tradie and his labourer,
and they were having a bit of fun with that today. They do that in pairs, so that'll take a few lessons as we go through all of that. Suzuki got registered yesterday, so it's good for another year. However, front drive shafts and the CV joints were dried and rusting, so we knew they needed replacing, and I knew that the wheel bearings were going out because we'd been told about that. They were starting to go about 18 months ago, and when they were getting the brakes checked, the auto electrician even said, yeah, your bearings are a little bit out. And I said, oh, that's reminded me. So we'd booked in to have the drive shafts replaced. That quote was 600 odd. Asked them about the wheel bearings as well, and they said, we'll have to get the cost on the parts and the labour and give you an updated quote. Tidy little sum at 1400, but it's something that it's best to get it done before it gets too bad. It's the weekend, got a bit of exam marking to do, some stuff to do at the house, some stuff on the timetable preparation for next year, and prep for classes for next week. Year 12 still on exams this week. It's week 2. One of the students, however, did come in. She bought her drawer runners for her desk, and we started trimming down her drawer front and back so we could allow for the drawer runners on either side. This side is going to have 2 drawers, this side's 3. So on this side we've got space for the 2 drawers, and she had some shelves ready for the bottom, and they've just been pocket screwed into there. They're not obviously not meant to hold a lot of weight, being very shallow shelves. So basically just a separator for that space. So that's in, this is nice and it's stiffening up, and she'll work on cutting new domino joints for them so she can make the drawers fit. This one was the one that she'd already glued together as a test, so that one's going to have to be cut apart and remarked as well. That's basically it for today. A student who's doing this desk came in again today after their exam. Got a shelf cut for the opposite side, so B at the bottom, basically to keep this side the same width, but she's gotten all her 5 drawers made with bases on them, so they'll be dry for tomorrow, and she can start trying to get the drawer runners on, so that's coming along well. Wednesday, that desk is coming along really well. She's got her drawer runners put in on one side. These 3 are ready to go. She's got the runners. We put a small piece at the bottom to help keep that the same distance as the front, and also got some plywood backing on it to help stiffen those up. The girl who's doing the clothing rack came in to work on hers. When she came in, I told her about this little being slightly out, and so she adjusted that today, so now they fit in between, which means she now just needs to drill some pivot holes to use some more of these to make a pivot spot so that the bottom can open out this way and the top can open out. She can have a top shelf and the bottom shelf on, and then she can get the rail through the centre. This stuff that I was just cutting up is for a Year 7 class. They're going to be doing digital cities, and they're going to basically, in groups or individually, they'll be making little city blocks so that our little Edison robots can manoeuvre their way around the city, and the roads will basically be where the edges of the tiles are. One of my staff came up with this idea, and he said we need some way of getting some tiles for the kids. And this is all that MDF that I had left over from when I did the shed. We'll be able to use this because it's just going to be a platform for the kids to work on. They're not going to be cutting or sanding or anything with the MDF. So just cut up a little bits of timber that the HISI faculty asked me to get for them so that their phone book didn't slide off their shelf, and I'd forgotten about it.